Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing drawing your OCs. So I'm going to be doing it like I have been the last two videos, I think it's been, where I draw the character digitally with line art, and then I will be coloring the character traditionally with my alcohol markers. So first up is JuiceBoxBoy's character. It's a male OC, and I'm super excited to be able to be drawing a dude, by the way. I don't really get them often, but it's really exciting when I do. I believe the character's name is said as Meyer or Mir, not sure which of the two. He likes hoodies and skateboarding, and he hates things that are spicy and doing math. He's a pretty chill character that went through some rough times in his childhood, such as loneliness and self-doubt, but he pushed through it by basically finding fun things to do in his free time, such as skateboarding. And so I have the character Meyer, or Mir, right here. And the colors I'll be using. So he has a pretty pale peachy skin tone. So I'm going to start off with this warm gray, which feels pretty peachy to me, even though it's called warm gray. And then I'm going to shade with this pear color. And I definitely feel like this is a really good skin color combo, these two colors. They just balance each other out really well. And then I don't want the shading to be too harsh, so I'm going back in with the warm gray and just lightly going over the edges of the color I just used, the pear color, just so that it appears softer. And then when it comes to coloring hands, I'm pretty precise with where I lay down my shadow. So I'm going to lay down my shadow on the fingertips, kind of, all the way up to the second knuckle. That way you can kind of see his hand as a more, I don't know, three-dimensional kind of object. Doesn't look so flat. And then just a little bit of shading on the other hand. And that's pretty much the skin. He has flaming red hair. So I'm going to start out with this really strong red. And as always, when I do hair, I work in a sort of gradient kind of way. So I'm going to switch to a lighter color. So that was R8 Geranium. Now I'm going to use R5, which is a cherry pink, and then into a sort of yellowish color. This is Quince, which is Y4, and it's a bit of a strong change, but in the end, it'll give me that sort of fiery, glowy look that I'm kind of going for, because that's what it looks like he has. And then I'm going to do the same. So I'm going back to my darkest red, and I'm starting at the tips now of his hair and moving up. And I'm not going to do too much because now I'm going to move into my cherry pink again, then back into the orangey Quince color, and I'm going right into that pink and bringing it up to the orange. And then that's pretty much it. So now we've got this really cool gradient effect. And sometimes just for more depth, I like to go back to my darkest color, which is this geranium red, and pretty much just add hair details. Just gives it more dimension, makes everything feel more lively instead of so flat. And then I'm going to use a different kind of red, vermilion, for the shaved area, and it's just a bit orangier than the reds I've been using. And then gonna add in some texture with the cherry pink and a bit more with the geranium. There we go. And then his eyes are green, which is definitely nice against his red hair. So I'm using a green bise for my lightest color. Then I'm going to go in with my bud green, add some shading, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my darkest green, G2, which is a vivid green, just for the pupil. So right in the middle, and there we go. And I'm pretty much going to use those same colors for his jacket, or hoodie really. So the hoodie's like a lighter green in comparison to the overall jacket. So I'm going in again with this green bise, and then the same green is on the wrist areas. I'm not sure what those areas are called. And then around the waist. And his shoes are also green. So this area right here is a light green, as well as the soles. And the color scheme of the character is just really simple overall, which I like. I feel like too many colors and you kind of can get lost and everything can feel haphazardly put together. So I like that JuiceBoxBoy kind of keeps it simplistic, minimalistic in a sense. There you go. Then I'm also going to do another sort of gradient effect here on his hoodie, going from a pretty deep green to a slightly lighter green, and then probably to even a lighter green at the ends, just so that we can really see the change in color. Because sometimes when you're working in the same color family and going from, darker to lighter or lighter to darker, the change can just be so minimal that it can be hard to even determine that there's a change. So I want to make sure it's kind of noticeable, right? And then I'm adding just a bit of blue because this area right here is white. So I'm trying to add a bit of shading to it and maybe a bit of the dark green right here for some shading. And there we go. And then his pants are red. So I'm using the vermilion again. And I think they're like red jeans that seem to have a sort of circle design on them. Then I'm going to use my really strong geranium red for the shading. And then I have old red, which I think might be a little too strong. I don't know. Let's see. It's a little too strong in the lighter area, but in the shading, it's not too bad. And I'm going to use this old red just to do these circular designs that he has on his pants, doing them mostly in the shadow for right now. And then I'm going to use this lighter cherry pink to do the circles that are not in shadow. And then I'm going to use my kinks again for the cuffs on the bottom of his jeans. They're like rolled up a bit, so I imagine it would be lighter. And in the reference picture, it's not only lighter, but it seems to be orangey. So that's why I'm going with this color. And the last thing to do is finishing up with his shoes, which are also green. And then that's pretty much it. But I'm going to go ahead and add a bit of blue to the background. I'm going to turn it actually, just so I can get a better angle. I like to just do this technique that creates more gradient. I'm really into gradients, it seems. Oh no! I got a little bit of the red of his hair mixed in. Shoot. The red color is quite potent. Like this mint blue picks it up really easily. Let me get the other side. And then on the bottom, flicking up. And the cool thing about the color is I can just go right into the drawing. Not too much, but just until it mixes in with the red. Oh, that red is really strong. Oh, and it's hard to cover up when it streaks. But anyways, the cool thing about using such a light color is when you flick it up and go into the piece itself, it's not visible. The only problem is this issue I'm having when I flick it up into the dark red of his pants and end up having that red color smear into the overall background. Yeah, I guess you can't have everything. And then finally, some shinies. So I'm going to add some right here to his hair, where the orange is, to his eyes, and in areas that need a little bit of fixing, right here on the pants. I went out with the red. I'd use it to fix the streaking of the red color, but it would look just like a blob of white, so it really wouldn't work. Could use it on the shoe area. Went outside a little bit with the green, and maybe on the tip of his nose. And that's that. Yeah, so that is JuiceBoxBoy's original character, Meyer, or Meir, I don't know, sorry. And so, on to the next one, we have Accy. So, Accy's character is named Yuna, and Yuna is 22 or 23 years old, around there. And as far as Yuna's story goes, Accy is still sort of thinking up all the details because she wants to write a book or a comic about this character. But basically, what she provided was that Yuna lives with her father under the same roof because she is still on her way to finding her direction in life. Going into details, the reader finds out that she is kind of a species that is not identified on Earth, but in a very specific part of the galaxy, and pretty much just a bloody crime in her city and a meeting with some people out of her own scene bring her into a very fascinating and action-filled situation, which leads to her identification and the story behind her and her father. So to me, it sounds really thrilling, actually. So Accy, whenever you write this book or comic, I want to read it. All in all, Yuna seems to be a very calm and mysterious character. She likes singing, baking, and contact with other people. And so here is Accy's original character, Yuna. So this is my color selection. Some of the colors on this character are also the same as I used on the previous character. So I'm going to be reusing the same skin colors, and there's going to be a lot of black in this piece. Not like straight black, but more along the lines of dark grays. And right now I'm just shading, again, the same shading color as I did on the character before. And I accidentally colored in this band area right here, but I'm not too worried about that because I'm going to be filling this part in with a much, much darker color that will just cover right over that mistake. So I have CG5, which is basically a dark gray. You never want to go straight black. Like when something is black on a character, then you can't add any value. Black is pretty much the darkest value there is. So, and then I have CG7, which will be my shading color for the dress. And the style of the character overall seems to be pretty gothic-like. This is considered her fancy outfit. Accy sent me a few choices on what I could dress her up in, and they were all really cute, but this one just stood out to me the most, probably because I really like fancy things. So I was like, yep, I'm gonna go with the fancy dress. And I really liked the bow. It has a skull in the middle, and I was like, I'm definitely always in the mood for skulls, so this is the one. And this red is really striking against the dark grays. I didn't think it'd be this strong, which isn't bad. I just hope my darker red that I'm going to use to shade with stands out, you know, a lot more against it. All right, so this was the cherry pink, and then I've got this old red. Okay, so yeah, so the value is definitely a lot deeper, so it's showing up just as I had hoped. And I'm not really blending here, I'm just putting down the color as is, just to make it look like hard shadows. That's the effect that I'm going for. And then from the pictures, it looked like the character had green eyes, so I'm using this green base color to start, and then this deeper green for some shading right on the top half of the eye. And then my darker green is going to be the pupil right in the middle, and that's pretty much all there is to it. And then I'm going to leave her hair bow for last, and I'm using a bit of straight black just for the roots of her hair. And then I'm going to move to the dark gray, the CG7, and start mixing it into the black and pulling it down. And then I'm going to move to my lightest gray color, going into my darker gray color, pulling it down. And then the tips of her hair are kind of like a pastel kind of purple. So I'm using P3, which is pastel violet, and this color is on the tips of her bangs, right here on the sides of her hair, and then on the main part of her hair. And then I've got R11, and it's called Mauve, but it's basically just a lighter purple in my opinion. And I'm starting on the tips and going up in order to sink it into the pastel violet. Wasn't that much lighter though. If anything, it's more just desaturated. Then I'm going to take this slightly lighter gray, CG4, and kind of just bring it down throughout the hair, just so that the hair looks complete. It adds dimension and just brings the two colors together. And all I have left is the bow that I left for the end. Technically, I have to do the background, but this is the last piece I have to do on the character herself. There we go. Of course, some shading right here in the middle and on the edges. And for this character, I'm going to use the purple mauve color for the background. Kind of just doing that same sort of streaking down. I'm going to try and be more careful not to go into the other colors though too much, just so that I don't have the same issue that I ended up having with the previous character. And that's that. I kind of like the purpley background. Kind of looks like it gives it a bit of a creepy factor in the back. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to add a little bit of shinies to her eyes, to the lips, a bit to the hair, and now we're done. And so this is Yuna. Definitely enjoyed this character and this one too. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. And if you did, maybe comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.